Henry Ford was tired of stepping in horse shit, and he hated the buggies. So he built a car, right? When he solved the horse shit problem, he didn't think that we're going to have planes and lawnmowers and it's air and heating, refrigerators. There are so many use cases for a combustion engine. No one in their life could have thought of every application of it. Yet there are hundreds of trillions of dollars poured into combustion engines from 1901 to today. Blockchain's the same way. It's a idea that transcends how we do things today. It'll be everywhere. Everything will be on chain. It will me saying online on chain and that distinction won't even it's just going to as soon as you don't realize that you're using a token instead of a file, we're already there.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Proof of Talk. I'm here with Jake Tullis, who is the co-founder of Bleeding Edge Capital. Welcome, man. Good to have you on.
Thanks, Andre. Thank you. I'm super excited to talk all things crypto and go over probably the stuff I'm researching at the fund and all the exciting things this coming bull run, which I think is here. It'll be a fun time. I'm excited.
Awesome, dude. Yeah. Well, I had a look. I had a look at kind of what you do, and I think like the bleeding edge capital hedge fund management side of things is really really interesting, and I feel like a lot of people can derive a lot of value into what it means to manage a hedge fund and what it means to as an individual to manage your own investments. So great work you're doing, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, it sounds like super intimidating. I never would have thought I'd be doing this, but once you get like it took a year to cut the ribbons, first of all. It's crazy the amount of time it goes into to set up the insulating structure that is a hedge fund. And then once that's done, it is a little unreal just moving the zeros in between wallets and accounts and stuff. But after that, I mean, at least for me, it's probably one of the coolest experiences I've had. I'm super, yeah, I'm super grateful for it, how it's all kind of unfolded.
Yeah, and I bet it must be very different from managing hedge funds in traditional finance because it's like when you think about a hedge fund manager, you you don't think about like a cool looking dude with like a cloud of neon, in his own office and stuff. You think about like suits and maybe a bit of coke and stuff like that, but you don't really think
Right.
about like this kind of environment, which is really cool.
Yeah, I that's kind of the whole point, man. Like my brand, I want to socialize the idea that one, like hedge fund managers are not awful people. We're just humans, that have rich friends. Really, that's what it is. And I never had rich friends. I got this right out of the mud, everything. So the fact that like I've had to claw my way to this position to do this stuff, I want people to realize that it's also not that big of a deal. Like people put money into private it's no different than like a 401k what I offer, right? It's just for rich people. It's like a rich person 401k basically. Rich people at a certain point, they have a problem. If you make enough money, they need to invest it because they know about inflation. They're not dumb dumbs. They know they're losing money. So, hedge funds, syndicating real estate, hotels, like whatever it is, almost always there's someone like me that just raises the money, pulls it, and goes buys things so they can sleep better at night. And that's all it really is. And I try to really make everyone just, I guess, get socialized to the idea that the stuff I'm doing is stuff they could do too. There's a really popular influencer, Bridger Pennington. He
Hmm.
talks about starting your own fund and what it's like. And, it's pretty amazing. You can make a lot of money off, and not a lot in this industry if you're investing in good things like crypto. But,
Yeah.
um, yeah, that's my vibe. So I appreciate it, man. I'm just trying to be a down to earth guy, regardless of where this all takes me.
You're a fundamental analysis guy. I wanted to say a fundamentalist, but that just sounds wrong. um, I think it's really interesting to get into that a bit and kind of unpack what it means to invest based on fundamental analysis and what are some of the key takeaways that people can apply in their own investment strategies.
Awesome. Yeah. So first to understand why it's so impactful would first to be to unpack the strategy in general. Value investing is the there's multiple types of, I guess, disciplines of investing, especially as fund managers. Value investing in general is the most probabilistically likely to succeed. And this has been studied across centuries. And some famous value investors are Kathy Wood, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Ray Dalio. You get the picture. These are very wealthy, successful investors who have had wonderful careers, and they are always discretionarily long. That is the first thing. Value investing is predicated on the principles of deploying capital for longer time horizons than what you're usually comfortable with. But if it's a valuable asset, why would you ever want to sell it, especially if you accumulated it at a very fair price? That's one principle. And there there's been a history of this success literally since John Templeton in the late
Yeah.
1700s, right? It's The Intelligent Investment of Benjamin Graham. I highly recommend anyone that listens to this podcast at least checks that book out to understand that most often the winners that you don't hear about are the ones that just did value investing and may not have even realized they were doing it. They might have put up an auto buy of the S&P 500 index for 30 years, and then they wake up to 4 or 5 million. Now, I personally don't want to wait that long. I'm young, I'm impatient, and I don't want to violate the number one rule of any investing strategy, and that is to understand your investment. I've been doing software development for 10 years. I don't know anything other than tech. I've never built a car, I've never worked in a manufacturer. I don't know how, like the energy works in things. So I really am only comfortable investing in software and, you know, understanding that software. I want to put my money wherever my knowledge can give me an advantage. So the more complicated the software is, probably the more likely I am to have an advantage, a knowledge advantage over the other investors. Because at the end of the day, you guys need to understand that investing is a zero sum game. When I buy Bitcoin at 9 and I sell it at 60 to you, I've made quite a bit of profit, and I wouldn't be able to take that profit if you weren't willing to buy it at that price. For me to win, you have to lose, and vice versa. It really is a zero sum game in that way. But in general, the with that kind of idea, you need to really appreciate that if you can get an edge on a specific asset that you really understand. I'll give you an example. Let's say you were a dating coach. That's like your business. And you only wanted to invest in something you knew. So you could literally go look at all of the companies that facilitate social interactions and make a very good strategy that would probably get a very specialized niche return on all the different companies that are put in there. Like if you had that thought of how connections are made and quality relationships, you could think about all the businesses where that is actually like if they can facilitate those where they get paid, and you could start analyzing how they do it. You would have the insight to be like, I'm going to play with this interface and be like, that's going to turn people off psychologically because I know from my 30 years of psychology or whatever, you get it. You want to be able to find an investment strategy and investment area where you have that kind of advantage against the rest of the market. And that's the whole point of value investing. With
Yeah.
that in mind, I know it's a long little zigzag to there, but if you understand the edge knowledge gives you, then you have to just do the work in the fundamentals, right? Understanding if like the red logo and the white thing is going to affect people versus like why do people pick Zeus? I'm following this dating analogy. Why do they pick Zeus over Elite Singles, over Tinder, over there's a reason. And if you spend enough time really trying to understand that reason, you can make a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good point for people to keep in mind at all times. Like, really understand the product that you're investing in, especially in a time where everyone's looking for quick gains, quick profits, quick money, and well, ironically, most people that want quick money will end up losing money because they don't go through that process. Like, yes, you can make money as a day trader, but what it takes to be a successful day trader is a completely different set of skills. And most likely you have to be doing that and only that alone. You can't just be a day trader and, have other occupations during the day. And I think where value investment fails for most people is that they don't really understand, well, basically what you just said, like understand the underlying product, right? You look at different companies, and sometimes it's not only about the product itself, it's also about the people. Because if you look at FTX, you wouldn't have guessed before, just by looking at the product, that this is a fucking train wreck, right? You'd have been, okay, yeah, it's a crypto, it's one of the biggest crypto exchanges out there. But then you look at SBF and you look, dude, this fucking guy, I swear to God, I just can't. Every time I see anything, I don't know if you're following, and I'm just rambling a bit. I don't know if you're following the trial, but I've been following for the last few days. It's just like the Johnny Depp trial all over again. It's such a shit show.
It's such a shit show. That guy is, I just made some TikToks talking about it. Like, people are getting turned off. Like, I'm kind of grateful for them because I got some great discounts. Like,
Yeah,
people were, like, because that's how I invest. I'm waiting for black swans. I mean, I'm that weird guy that's like, please, will you all just lose your minds for a week? And then I'm going to raise a bunch of money, buy it super cheap. That's like, so I'm grateful for him in a sense, but people need to understand that dude is like the smartest people in the room. If you guys are in an older generation and you remember Enron, it was that level of defrauding the entire world. Like $9 billion of customer deposits were ran through 100 shell companies to where you would have no idea where they went when really he just lost it all in DeFi. Like he did all
yeah,
this to get 9 billion and to go to DeFi and lost it all. I mean, and he didn't want to tell anyone that because he thought he was too smart for that. And that it really comes back like this guy's shooting a 160. He's autistic. He's some of the smartest. He really is one of the smartest people in the world. I mean, to find arbitrage the way he did with Bitcoin before he got diluted, you got to be smart and connected. And he was everything that he needed to be. So you need to understand, even him with that get money quick, get rich quick. You see how it's ending up. Like he has a grand scale failure because of that mindset. If he would have taken 9 billion and then allocated it for 10 years across maybe 30 really solid assets, he would be probably a trillionaire, honestly. Like if he would have
yeah.
just been patient, like
Yeah,
just patient.
he was just going on stand saying that, "Oh, I don't think I've done anything wrong. Yes, I've misplaced $8 billion from Alameda Research, but I didn't know that commingling customer funds is illegal,
Right.
Your Honor. In my defense."
Right. You haven't heard of fractional reserve? That's basically what I was doing. I
Yeah,
took customer
exactly.
deposits. I did some things. It's all good. Don't
Yeah.
worry
Why
about it.
can the central bank do it? Why can't I do it?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. God, that
Yeah.
thing is wild. It really is. But the listeners at home really should understand, one, crypto's not a scam. That dude was, and two, get rich quick. You could end up on trial. Not really, but maybe. Who knows? But it's a terrible mindset to have. Terrible
Yeah, for
mindset.
sure. I mean, there are strategies, right, where you could argue, well, it could work if the risk reward ratio is there, right? Like, let's say you're talking about all these, and I'm not suggesting that everyone goes out there and invests in shitcoins. I don't think it's a sustainable strategy. But if
Sure.
the risk reward ratio is 100 to 1, right, and you don't mind losing that $1,000, just like, okay, maybe I'll just put it
Yeah.
there, see what happens. I lose it, okay, I just lose it.
If that's the mindset, that's different. People are putting it's like they're going to the casino. Let's say you have
Yeah,
1,000 you could lose, but really you have 10,000 that would hurt, but fuck it, right? Like in that scenario, and then they pick 10 shit coins at 1,000 a pop. Probabilistically, that ain't going to do anything. So if you guys go to Price Waterhouse Cooper, they're one of the big four consulting firms in America. They're very credible. It's one of the most credible sources you can go to. They have a hedge fund report. They We pay for the current year, but the previous year is always released for free, right?
Right.
To where it's not relevant anymore. You know what I mean? So I have the you can find the 2021 for free, um, and you'll see that even with that strategy, at least for professional hedge fund managers, which are probably at, I don't know if they're at the top of investing. I'm sure there's closet investors that are just crushing it, right? But they have to be good enough to put their entire, like if I fail, I could go bankrupt. I could lose everything. You know what I mean? So they have to be good enough to be confident enough to take the kind of risk that could jeopardize their entire legacy, their family. That's a serious thing, right? So in my mind, they're at least the whole package. They might not be the best analyst, but they are able to raise money. They're able to manage their emotions and their stress levels. There's a lot of benefit. They're some of the best in the world at a lot of things. If I were really being honest,
Right.
and they PricewaterhouseCoopers tracks every single hedge fund's performance in crypto exclusively in this report, and you can look at all the different strategies that are deployed, which ones are profitable, which ones aren't, and the general performance of these specific hedge funds, and it'll blow your mind. So some of the things to pay attention to: the average starting assets under management for my industry is 3.5 million. So it's not like I'm working on raising 5 to 20, and 5 is proving to be difficult. So it's not like these are massive funds, these hedge fund managers. They're just probably people like me, that have just done well
Right.
in crypto, that are like, I want to do this for other people and make more money. I want to transform my life, whatever. Okay. They have four main strategies, hedge funds in this space, and discretionarily long outperforms any other strategy by almost 400%.
Wow.
Literally. The starting AUM for discretionarily long funds is 3.5 million. Their ending AUM from 2018 to 2021 was 58 million. They went from 3.5 to 58 in that 3-year time frame.
Damn.
Where qualitative short, quantitative long, qualitative, all this stuff that are different strategies, market neutral, they cover every strategy a hedge fund has. They don't even touch 200%, where discretionarily long averages 400 to 430%.
That's
So
fascinating.
yeah, it's very fascinating. I can email it to you. Maybe you could do a video on it for people, or you could edit it in and just kind of, or put it in the footnotes of the episode, however you want to disseminate it. But it's very interesting. So although you are right that it does pay off, still across almost $1 billion tracked by PricewaterhouseCooper across hundreds of funds, I'm telling you, discretionarily long wins most probabilistically of the time and in greater volume. So the hardest part about it is, and this is my number one emotion had to learn how to regulate, the idea that I'm doing nothing by being patient. Like sometimes
Mm.
the best thing you can do is do nothing,
Oh yeah.
right? The market was at 90, almost 90 days, bouncing between 23 and 25, right? And like that, there's not enough swing there. There's nothing I should be doing, honestly. Like, because nothing happens for me in my rules until Bitcoin passes its all-time high. So I'm just accumulating. I just need to be buying and waiting right now. When the bull market comes, I have a different strategy, a different rule-based system to pull my profits safely and everything else that I follow. But, really, do your research instead. Instead of making a trade, read more about an asset you're holding. Gain more confidence. Get more entrenched, or challenge an idea. If you really feel like you need to be trading, stop and just find an opposing opinion and see how stupid they are, Like, or have them say something and be like, "Wow, I never thought about that." I used to be a Bitcoin maxi until I really understood smart contracts as a developer. And I was like, dude, Bitcoin sucks. It
Yeah,
sucks.
Bitcoin doesn't have shit on smart contracts, dude.
Right. It's like, just be, but that's really where your work should be. And that's why value investing is so fucking critical to people understand. Like, if you actually, okay, this is a little moniker here that I talk about all the time. Price of an asset is just the congregate, right? Like all the people out there, they all have an opinion on the value of information. Their collective opinion of the value of information determines the price. Bitcoin is immutable. That means it's the same software, the same product that traded at 8/1000th of a cent. What is the difference from then and today? Just people having more information, higher quality information, and having a more optimistic opinion about the product. And that literally is it, right? So and this is why it's so important to do the research. If you have a better understanding of reality, and it's up here, and everyone thinks it's here because the quality information is poor, therein lies your profit, right?
Yeah.
When I'm buying
Knowledge
Bitcoin
is power.
Knowledge is power. When I'm buying Bitcoin at 15 because I see there's more transactions on the network and more smart contracts being deployed through Stacks and Lightning and more onboarding of business development, seeing more like fucking shut what is it? Shipped and drop shipping, all these different companies that facilitate those websites, they have Lightning for payment rails for Bitcoin. That happened this bear market. Yet the price is down 4x from the top. I'm buying that all day because y'all are dumb. Like you're not doing the research. You're not reading. I'm going to buy that all day. The reality is these networks, this industry has been building and growing day over day, month over month, as it sits almost 70% from all-time highs. And if you understand very basic principles about network engineering, like Metcalfe's law, right? Lindy's law. There are specific things that correlate one to one, or actually it's actually exponential correlation between the amount of nodes and users on a network related to value based on the purpose of that network. So if you know the network's growing, you know the users are growing, you know the nodes are growing, you know the amount of smart contracts are growing, you know all of these things are growing, you also can empirically know since 1976 that the value will too grow. It's when the
Yeah.
network stops growing is where the price stops. And that's where you really need to look at. And that's part of my fundamental analysis. Price is maybe 5% of my decision making criteria because price is just everyone's opinion on something. And everyone usually doesn't know everything. Like, so the real advantage is to know more things than your competitor and make big boy decisions with that knowledge. And that's why my channel is JT Knows Things, because I just know things and I talk about the things I know because I really do believe that is how you get the advantage in this game. You have to know more things. And
Yeah,
hopefully I
you
can
have to
help
know
you
more
get it.
things. Sure.
Yeah.
That's very well said. Yeah, because you
You
have
just
to know more than the other guy. Basically, that's wherever it lies. With Bitcoin, there's also with these products. Going back to what you said a couple of minutes ago, it's the same product that it was 10 years ago. 90% of it is the same. What's changed is the people's confidence in it because it was adopted by more people. I mean, you could also argue, okay, but more people, more nodes, more security, harder to hack, higher value for that. But the product itself unchanged. Unlike Ethereum, which is actually changing quite a lot, they've gone from proof of work to proof of stake, and they have a lot of new things coming up. Same thing with Ripple; they've got a lot of new things coming up. Polkadot, new things coming up. Even Solana, I haven't really followed, but I'm sure they're constantly building new things. Bitcoin is just Bitcoin.
Yeah, those are all on my asset allocation sheet, by the way. I love all those assets, all for different reasons. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Not everything is the same. Bitcoin, even then, even yeah, I'm sure I could get into some toe-to-toe debate with some researcher about Bitcoin being different, and it is. We do have things that people have built on top of it. But ultimately, the Bitcoin token in your wallet is the same. That's what you're buying. I don't really care about anything else. That token has not changed. The community has changed. People's confidence has changed. Absolutely. But, you're still buying Bitcoin and it's still a Bitcoin. It's pretty simple and beautiful that way.
Yeah.
And like really, it's just the amount of people's opinions there that collectively we've all agreed that we're all more optimistic about it in the future than we were last year or maybe in 2017. And then you have all the new money, you have all the normies that have FOMO that pump it, irresponsibly pump it. I mean, to coin Telegraph, like their Twitter got hacked. A tweet came out that the ETF got approved, and Bitcoin went from 26 to 33, and we've not recovered. Like, it's not come back to 26. Some of these people are here to stay. Like, I regret not buying it. I'm just holding it. Some new money came in, and they're holding it now. But
I didn't realize they got hacked. I
oh
thought they
yeah,
just said I thought they just said a dumb thing on Twitter and then they took it back. I didn't realize they got hacked.
yeah. No, they said that our account was compromised. It quit. Like they locked the guy out or reset the password pretty quick. But in that time, he got a tweet out. Like I don't know what he was doing, but it's pretty wild. One tweet, one fake tweet, and it's like, boom, 15%. That's the hardest thing I have to explain to my investors, right? It's like, guys, this shit is like nuclear. It's nuclear, I'm telling you. Like my parameters for choppy, like if we have some fucking chop, it's more than 15%. Bitcoin will casually do plus or minus 15%. A tweet, a thing. Now, when fucking Do Kwon did his little rabbit trick, right? We went down 33% in a day. There, I'm worried. Like 30% in a day is serious. But if that happened in the S&P 500, people are bankrupt.
You'd be losing your fucking mind.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, yeah. You're like, I'm gonna have to work another 20 years. Like you're having a heart attack.
Uh,
Um,
we
but
waited. We waited 5 years for this 30% pump anyway.
right, yeah, it's
Ah.
crazy. You
Yeah, imagine
know?
if gold goes down 30%. Like I've been stacking for the
Oh,
last 50 years.
fuck yeah.
Yeah,
You better get another lifetime, bud. Like
yeah.
with those returns. And that actually plays into a great point. Value investing in tech. If you're compounding, you don't have to be greedy. I keep going back to this. The quick returns, fast money, real quick. Guys, if you compound 30, 40, 50, 100% for fucking just 10 years, 8 years, you're a multi-millionaire. Like you're a multi-millionaire. That's how serious the returns are, right? Like if you just double a penny for 31 days, you have millions of dollars, a penny, right? So if you start with 10 grand and double it, that's eight doubles away from a million. That's 8 years. Like it's simple math. And you can conservatively and comfortably pull 100% on longer time horizons. Like you really can. Bitcoin,
Yeah.
ETH, like nothing crazy, massive market caps. Do you think 700 billion is going to disappear in a day? Like, no. So, DCA and forget about it for the average Joe. That would be my advice because you're going to still work. You're still going to have a life. Enjoy your life, live it, and then just take a percentage of your retirement, your portfolio, 5, 10%, put it into, and this is never financial advice. I have to keep saying that, never financial advice, but that 5 to 10% could easily outperform your 90%. It could retire you early if you just stop doing these degenerate things. Stop being an idiot. Even if it is like I see that you do algorithmic trading, like even if it is when AI gets up there, you put, let's say you have 1,000 a month that you're trying to put away. You put 500 into the traditional investments. You put 300 into, or maybe 200, 100 into Bitcoin, 50 into ETH, and then maybe 50 into Chainlink. I'm so bullish on Chainlink. Then you have another $100 that you throw into an AI bot and just let it do its thing. I've seen some pretty crazy things going on with that. So I don't know, but what I do know is if you sell anything inside of 12 months, you're an idiot. Like you're an idiot, and you should follow my channel to stop you from doing idiotic things like that. Because I will
Thanks for
help
life
you build
advice.
the yeah, I will help you build the confidence in the assets you're buying, so you don't feel like selling when something goes up 10%. Because you're an idiot, and I want to help you. Not you, but the people listening. I mean, that's really what my channel's about. I want you to know more things, so you feel better when you're holding these things. essentially.
There's a lot of opportunity, even in algorithmic trading, but then you don't have to treat it as day trading. You know, you could have an automated DCA, right, that just buys based on some fluctuations. You know, you could have or and then of course there's an option to day trade if you're into that. You know, that there is money to be made there if you're into that. You just gotta take your time with it and like test, man. And I think that this is like such an important aspect because a lot of people, first and foremost, you need a strategy. Like so many people think that, oh, I go into algorithmic trading and this thing's just gonna do it for me. It's like it's hands off. It's a money maker. It's, you know, it just prints money for you. But you need a strategy, right? If you don't have a strategy, you gotta go find a strategy that works for you, or well, not or, and then spend a considerable amount of time testing that, right? And we know there's two main ways to test that strategy. You've got paper trading, you've got back testing. Ideally, you want to do both. You want to backtest against the historical data set, and then you want to paper trade against the live market for a certain period of time. Even there's going to be fluctuations because you're not competing in an order book. So you paper trade, you're going to get slightly different results than you would live trading. So then you go on the live market, start with, start small and work your way up to a level that you're comfortable with, but it's only by taking these slow and incremental steps that you can actually devise a workable, profitable strategy, whether it's day trading or otherwise.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, and that literally goes back to the first principle of investing. If your algorithm that you're using to trade is the product, you should always understand the product you're investing in. If you're buying that algorithm, you need to, and you're investing in it, understand it. Know the strategy, know what it's doing, make sure it's congruent with your lifestyle and what you're trying to do. Understand the touch points, understand everything about it. Why? Because you need to. That's the responsible thing to do. Even there, you're talking about some very basic fundamentals of investing that people just don't. They just throw it out the window because you can click buy regardless if you did the work up front or not. And that's where people
Yeah.
get screwed. There's no air handling for, oh, you didn't, you don't know what you're doing, bud. Sorry. And I love that as a libertarian, but I mean, people need to take more responsibility. You're absolutely right. They really
Yeah.
do.
And I mean, in blockchain, you kind of don't have a choice but to take responsibility more so than any other industry, right? Because if you send money to a wrong wallet, that's it. It's done. It's gone. The money no longer exists. It's burned or
Right.
whatever. You
Send
don't have,
Solana to Coinbase Ethereum address. See what happens. Like
yeah.
just see what happens. It's going to be bad. They're going to lose everything. So
Yeah,
you got to
but
be
then
careful.
people do get into, people get scammed, get tricked quite often. It happens even today. Less so, I guess. There's probably more hacks than typical scams, but even the scams are getting a lot more advanced than they used to. People they clone websites, they just airdrop your fake token. There's so many ways to scam, but you look at even the obvious ones. You look at what, like, Crypto Queen's OneCoin, right? She ran off with what, $1 or $2 billion, because she promised like people she has this crazy money making solution. Just, give me your money, literally give me your ETH, I'll double it, right? And yeah, dude, like I think the more you kind of
It's
spend
sad.
time into this space, you can shield yourself from this.
I mean, even dude Vitalik got hacked. Mark Cuban
Yeah.
got hacked. They Mark Cuban installed MetaMask with two A's. He was drunk and he was drunk and he that's what he said. He's like, "Yeah, that MetaMask had some shit in it. I should have noticed by the letter A." That was his tweet. The second or third A or whatever. And he lost like $840,000 of Aave in this MetaMask.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and then Vitalik got his Twitter hacked, and it brought up a great point. So they never got his wallet, but his Twitter had access to his ETH address. And then through that ENS protocol, they were able to strip whatever wallet was tied to that ENS address through his Twitter, which literally goes back to one of the biggest problems in Web 2 that I'm investing in with the solutions of Web 3. There's a single point of failure in monolithic structures, guys. I know that sounds like a big old sentence, but really, Twitter owns all the servers, all the information, and it's not encrypted after you break through their firewall. And every time you log in, the walls are down. So
Mm,
if you get your username and password hacked in Twitter, now they have access to everything. And it's your fault, but it's also Twitter's fault for only having a single point of failure. And that is with every account or any message being sent. Like, there's a serious issue with companies owning every step of the stack. It worked until there was so much value on the internet, and now you realize that one point of failure, no general distributed consensus mechanism at all, no form of data sampling, nothing, you're going to lose your ass. I mean, Target lost 2 million social security cards from a guy on his phone Bluetooth hacking a one
damn.
node at a Target. You know what I mean? So it's like, you guys need to understand this stuff is far more secure, far more advanced, and dramatically beats the current architectures and technical stacks that exist today. So I mean, even Vitalik, the founder of Ethereum, lost over $2 million of ETH because of Twitter. So
Gee. Yeah, if implemented correctly, chains can be tricky to implement securely, right? You need to have a wide number of nodes. You need to make sure that there's no bad acting nodes. There is a lot of complexity within that. Um, but the fact that a decentralized network is more secure than a centralized monolithic source, 100%. Do you know
for
about
so many
Discord?
reasons.
Discord.
Um,
Oh yeah, yeah. We're
because
working on building a private access Discord for my brand eventually. So yeah, I
oh,
know a lot
that's
about
really cool.
Discord.
Because I mean, a lot of people in crypto use it, right? I use it, and all of my friends use it. Um, so there's this company, Chinese company, that owns a 38% stake in Discord, and Discord doesn't make money with Nitro. Discord makes money by allowing investors access to its data. You're basically buying your way into users' data because they don't end-to-end decrypt anything. They basically just store all of your messages on a server, give access to everyone who puts the money down.
That's interesting because I've been wondering. So my investors, they're idiots. I love them, but some of them are idiots. They just want to do like moonshots and degen stuff. They're like, I saw, like, because I basically, as an experiment, I did. This was during the bull run in 2021. Okay, and this is how stupid DeFi was. I picked 100 coins. I had 50 grand. I was going to put whatever that math is. I think it was like $500 into each one. Yeah, 50 grand. And I found 100, and I was just looking for. I mean, it took me 10 minutes to get one on the sheet. I would go through the newest coins every day, and there was probably 20 to 30 being released every day at this time. And then I would just look for things that have not been sold yet. That was it. So if they had a launch price of 10 cents and it went down to 1 cent, I'm not buying that. But if it went up to 12, 13, 11, 10, it had stability, I'm buying it. That's it. Out of that, 11 ran more than 10,000%. One of them ran over 1,000,000%. I would have turned 50 grand into $1 billion. I'm not even kidding. Like, that is what happened. But there's no liquidity. It's fake money.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
I were to, you know what I mean? Like, I had one token run over 1,000,000%. Its market cap was 80 million. My stake on $500 was more than the total market cap of the coin. That doesn't make sense. It's vaporware. It literally, like, there's no. If I put in a sell order, I'd be lucky to get my 500 out. It would completely collapse the project. The only thing that I did was put 500 in. If 30% of that token is in the developer wallet and they equally distribute that value, all I did was donate $80 to the developer, and then
yeah.
if I put a sell, it's done. You know what I mean? That's it. So even then, back in the peak of the bull, like, there's no way to capitalize on this strategy. But and then that's just me ranting because I really do hate this stuff because someone, like, literally, they were on CNN. This guy, he had over 1 billion in his Coinbase because Coinbase got a shit coin on their thing. He bought it, and the shares went through the roof. And he's like, he tried to put in a sell. Coinbase like, yeah, we can't do that. We don't have $1 billion worth of this shit
I
coin.
give you $1 billion. What the fuck's wrong with you?
They're like, yeah, he's like, I'll take 10 grand. They're like, we don't even have that. This thing's worthless. Like they had to do a whole press release and everything. So it's like, I do wonder though. Okay, this is something I've been working to build, the Discord thing. It would be cool to set up an algorithm, because I bet there's a correlation between Telegram and Discord members, hashtags on Twitter, so social paradigm shifts about a specific shitcoin. I bet just off hype, if there's a certain rate of increase, it's always, you got to look at the trending, the direction you're walking, not necessarily the number itself. If there's a rate of increase, I guarantee you the price follows. If Discord
Yeah.
goes from 2,000 to 200,000 members in a month and that price hasn't moved, you buy that, right? And get out quick. I mean, it would be cool to set up an algorithm using that data. That'd be a cool thing that we might be able to do. If because I do feel like you can make some money doing that. Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Funny you mentioned that because I actually built that exact thing for someone way back. His idea was
how
Twitter
was it
growth.
successful?
I actually never followed up, and I didn't run it myself. But yeah, people have the same idea. Like social growth eventually means profits, monetary growth, uh, which I guess stands to reason so far as you can take your money out.
Right, that's the thing. Like, don't wait for 1,000,000%, but if you pull a few hundred, don't be greedy. You get slaughtered, right? Be a fat pig. Be happy. Stay alive,
Yeah.
right? I'm not gonna hold on to a shit coin to try to get a few extra multiples. Like, I just quintupled my money. If this was the S&P 500, I'd be dead for that to happen. So, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that
And
really comes down to it. Don't be greedy.
yeah, and you gotta watch out for wash trades too. So many scam coins just do wash trades to artificially inflate their value to really win.
Yeah, they're the only ones winning there. It's
Yeah.
smart though. Unregulated, like good for them, I mean, I I hate it, and that's why I make my content. I want people to understand this stuff, and I don't want them to be like, if I had a polo on, this is how I feel. If I had a polo on or a suit and tie and I was in my office with my partner, I just feel like this information is droning. It's boring. You just want to kill yourself listening to it. Like, what's a wash trade? Why do I care? You know? But if I'm funny and kind of aggressive but chill and I got this shit going on behind me, hopefully they're like, okay, this guy's cool and he knows a lot about this. Maybe I should listen a little bit. Because really it is intimidating. Hedge fund manager. I can't even say that socially without people going like, what? You know? Like, they either think I'm fucking loaded or they think I'm autistic, and there's no in between. Like, yeah, like you can't watch someone on CNN that's a hedge fund manager that can't even make eye contact with the news reporter and not think one of those two things, if not both. So
It's
um,
new money. It's a new
it's
world.
new money. It's a new world. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, and my generation doesn't want to take financial advice from that guy. They just don't. They grew up on TikTok investing advice. So I need to appeal. This shit looks good on TikTok. People stop and watch at least. They're like, what is going on? With the clouds and everything else. And I usually have my
Yeah.
hair down. Yeah. So that I get compliments on the hair. I don't know. My generation's weird. I hate my hair down, honestly. You asked about earlier. You asked about my metrics that I look for. Um,
Yeah, like the kind of things you look for before you invest, and also like what are some of the like what kind of clients you typically work with.
So clients I work with is pretty simple. For a hedge fund to exist, you have to be a 506c, and that basically I can't market directly at all. So without knowing someone's accredited or unaccredited. The
Hmm.
definition of accredited investor is someone that makes 200,000 a year individually or 300,000 a year collectively, like as a married couple, or and this is an or, not an and, so it's one of the three, or they have $1 million net worth outside of their primary residence. If they meet one of those three criteria, they basically something happens legally. The court, the law, the SEC, CFTC, all these guys, FinCEN, there's so many regulatory agencies. They all look at someone with those criterion met, or one of them met, as responsible investors. So the responsibility of education is on them, not on me. If I take unaccredited money, the perspective would be I was a predator because I
Right.
knew more than them, right? Because I had more money, blah, blah, blah. I strong armed them, whatever. So I cannot market to directly to unaccredited investors. That's the big thing to change. So when you have accredited investors, really, it's going to be doctors, it's going to be lawyers, it's going to be people at a high income or at a high net worth. So either people that got daddy's money or they went out and got it themselves through a high income job, or they're an entrepreneur. And those really are the kind of subsets of people. Most of my investors are real estate investors, just due to my partnership. I'm partnered with Nate Barger. He has over 2 million followers on social media. He's quite popular. And he does real estate investing. He also owns a real estate hedge fund called Venture Real Estate Group. And he
Mhm.
manages 250 million in hotels and apartments and things.
Wow.
So, wow. Yeah, I'm very fortunate. He's basically, honestly, on a lighter note, he's helped me so much. He helped me stay sober. He's helped me with my relationships and family. Me and him are very close, and he's been a mentor to me for years. And he saw what my returns were doing for me personally and was like, we could do this for my friends, and they could make a lot of money, and so could we. And that's kind of how this all started. So I'm just kind of under his wing, if you will, and I'm very blessed to be in that position. This is why it's also
That's
foreign and
nice.
new to me. Yeah, so it's mainly real estate investors that have worked with Nate, or my other partner Steve. He's a real estate attorney that syndicates. Like he's the guy that sets up all these deals. When we talk about hedge funds, setting up all the LLCs for the exemptions, like he does all that. So he's our operating guy, and he
Mhm.
also does 1031 exchanges. So he has a lot of wealthy clients that move money in and out of real estate. So between their networks and any clients I have from my consulting business, that's whose money we manage, and I'm a very small percentage of that subset of people.
Right.
And then yeah, I mean they're also far older. You know, I'm 28. They're in their mid to late 40s, so they're just that impressed with my returns and my knowledge, and and they're just like, you got it, kid. Let's push you over. They're pushing me to do all this. So but it's very exciting for me. I don't know. It's very cool. And
You've been in crypto for a while, right?
2017, roughly, in and
Okay.
out.
So
Okay. I'm a
back to
long
the
term
first kind of
cyclical
big
trader.
bull run.
Big bull run. Yeah, man. So I basically accumulate in the bears and I sell in the bulls as in when a one sentence strategy. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, but that's the basics. Like I'm cool waiting 2 years for a trade. Not many people are like that. I grew up fishing. I'm patient as fuck. I'm a Buddhist. I meditate. Like I'll wait days to catch that fish, baby. I'll be on the boat sweating all day. I'll put in the work, but I'm gonna haul that 5 foot shark in at the end of that week. I promise you. It's kind of like that. I'm very patient. Um, so the metrics, one I mentioned them in the beginning of this episode, but Metcalfe's law is really important to understand. This was invented in 1976 with the advent of telecommunication networks. The the equation's very simple. The value of a network is equal to the number of nodes squared. And since 1976, this law has not been disproven, no different than gravity. So if you see nodes increasing, value too shall follow, and it always has. That's why everyone talks about the network effect. If one node requires another node or another user or another thing to come on, that is a ever growing exponential kind of value accrual system. So we always look for network effects based on Metcalfe's law. To give you a good example why I love Chainlink, more blockchains means more Oracle means more blockchains. That is a network
Right.
effect, right? So I look for those things, like that specific law. Another law that has not been disproven since 1979 is Lindy's law. If you have a non perishable good, like an idea, like software, right, that doesn't perish, its probability of longevity increases by how long it's already existed. So television's a great example. It's way less likely that TV goes away in the next 60 years since it's been available than if it was 1958 and the screen just came out. It's
Right.
way more likely to go away if it hasn't even caught on yet. Another way that might be easier to understand, let's say a human life, I know that's perishable, but it's just a good comparison. It's way more likely that someone at 70 dies in the next 10 years than someone who's 10 dies in the next 10 years, right? It's about length of time. So, it's really tragic when a 10-year-old dies because it's like, oh my God, they had so much life to live. That's unprobabilistic. But when a 70-year-old dies, it's like, it was his time, you know? Why?
Yeah.
That's Lindy's law, right? So there are specific laws and rules of computer science that are 40, 50 years strong that you can use as the foundation of your analysis. So, how old is it? If it's been around 7, 8 years, the likelihood it's here for another 7 to 8 years is anywhere from 7 to what is that? 64 times more likely than your shitcoin that came out last week,
Oh yeah, and that's such a good point for sure.
right? Bet the odds. Like it's not that difficult. So I use these principles. I'm a principled investor. Like read Principle by Ray Dalio. He's a value investor. The Intelligent Investor. Like there is a lot of books out. Money Master the Game. Ray Dalio's in there for 4 chapters talking about value investing. Like just understand the principles, do the fundamentals, and then literally relax because the price will take care of itself over time as people start coming to the realization you had years prior because you did the work to find out.
There's also this mathematical equation that says like a complex system, the more complex a system gets, the more likely it is for it to fall into a higher order rather to descend into chaos, which kind of goes a little bit into like the more nodes, the more valuable a system is, right? Because like Bitcoin has so many nodes that there's probably almost no chance of it like ever disappearing.
Right. You know, absolutely. And that's the metrics I look for, man. I look how many you guys can go to Glassnode for 250, 300 a year and get all this data that I'm using to make $1 million decisions, right? Like how many smart contracts are being deployed in the first 90 days of a new developer wallet. That's important. That tells me if the tech stack is sticky enough to attract really exciting builders. At the end of the day, if you're investing in the infrastructure, like Ethereum, that is infrastructure. I don't care what anyone says. It is the layer one. That's where we're settling all of our transactions. It doesn't matter what horse wins. When NFTs pumped 10,000%, Ethereum pulled 800. Again, I'm conservative. I'm good with 800%, right? Like, if you're investing in the infrastructure, it's good to understand if people want to build there. Like, Polkadot has some of the best metrics for this. Like, if a developer
Hmm.
comes onto Polkadot for whatever reason, they are publishing 7 contracts in 90 days compared to Ethereum's 4. So it's a sticky stack. People like building with it. I also look at contract execution times because enterprise adoption wants fast. There's high frequency trading happening in nanoseconds. Solana is great for that. Their smart contract execution is 1,000 times better than Ethereum. That's their value proposition because they have a single state machine executing. Their virtual machine is way more powerful than Ethereum. Ethereum has a different value proposition. So it's understanding like the technology and looking at what their actual utility is and ignoring most of the hype and FUD and everything else. It's actually getting in dirty, understanding the technology, So you can understand how they all interact with one another and you think about the entire market as a whole, which is difficult to do. I am commonly talking about this. Blockchain is like the combustion engine. You know, Henry Ford was
Mm.
tired of stepping in horse shit and he hated the buggies. So he built a car, right? When he solved the horse shit problem, he didn't think that we're going to have planes and lawnmowers and it's air and heating, refrigerators. There are so many use cases for a combustion engine. No one in their life could have thought of every application of it. Yet there are hundreds of trillions of dollars poured into combustion engines from 1901 to today. Blockchain's the same way. It's a idea that transcends how we do things today. It'll be everywhere. Everything will be on chain. It will me saying online on chain and that distinction will that won't even it's just going to as soon as you don't realize that you're using a token instead of a file, we're already there, you know?
Oh yeah,
But that's just how it's that's just how it's going to play out in the long tail of adoption. It's going to be everywhere.
and people won't be able to distinguish, and I think that's when you know that um, a, a new tech it's mature enough when you can't tell the difference between like when you don't really know what's happening under the hood, but you don't have to because it just works so well, right? Just think about an iPhone. Like, how many of us actually? Well, first of all, you can't really open it, but even if you could, uh, you wouldn't go poking around. Let me look at the RAM. Let me look at the battery. Let me look at the processor. Um, it just works, right? And I think that's what the majority of people want from crypto. And I think that's where the challenge is right now in terms of adoption, because sometimes it doesn't work. And sometimes there's a lot of scams and like, yeah. I understand why people don't invest in crypto as much as any other asset class. Uh, there is a risk there, and we're still young, and it's still maturing.
And I still eat glass, man. That's what I call it. Like just today, I was wondering, like I'm still trying to figure out how to stake my Hedera. And I'm an expert. I've been in this space since 2017, but like those protocols change all the time. And I have fucking 9 wallets and 4 exchanges, and I have my personal invest. Like, I have so many accounts that I manage and think about, and I'm constantly analyzing. And I've not found a staking provider I'm comfortable with for my Hedera, and nor do I know how to do it yet. And like, I'm raising money and I'm still learning as I go. Like, you don't just come out of the womb knowing this stuff. You got to do it, and it's not easy. I still read the first four and the last four digits and identifying numbers for every wallet that I interact with,
Yeah.
even if it's a saved address. You know what I mean? Because I've lost a lot of money not doing that, right? I had to eat glass, I had to take my licks. Like that's just part of the learning process. You got to take your licks and get the fuck back up. And it's not easy to use. Once the UI and UX is that advanced, so sticky, like Apple, like the iSheep, the Sheeple, whatever. Yeah, it's game. I mean, hopefully you've listened to this podcast and invested before then. Never financial advice. Don't take that as financial advice, but hopefully you've made some good decisions by the time that happens because the total market cap will be 150 trillion, 200 trillion of the entire industry. Bitcoin's going to be at a million. ETH's going to be at 50K. I easily see Chainlink being at 1,000 by that time. Like, hopefully you've made some good decisions.
Actually, well, by what time do you reckon Bitcoin is gonna hit 1 million?
I have the answer I tell my investors to not sound crazy, and that's going to be 2050. Okay, to not sound crazy, 25 years. By the time I'm pushing 50, that's a reasonable expectation.
It's
If
reasonable.
I were to remove, yeah, if I were to remove my reasonability hat and look at just the facts and tell you objectively without me being worried about your emotions, I would say like 2030. I mean 2035. Two more, maybe it won't happen this bowl, no shot.
No.
We don't have regulations. We don't have on ramps. Like a lot needs to be built for institutions to be that comfortable. But the second the 400 something trillion AUM, and then if you include derivatives, what is that, 600 trillion?
It's
People
huge, yeah.
trading on trades, it's massive. So we're talking a quadrillion of value in the world today, roughly, if you include derivatives, because that's bigger than the entire market. For those who don't know, derivatives are basically people placing bets on bets. You know, so you can make a bet like, oh, the over under. If I'm thinking about sports betting, which I'm not into, but basically, if I put a bet on Adesanya winning the fight, you could bet if I win or lose. That would be like a derivative, and then you could bet if I win or lose on his win or loss. And we just keep cascading into what are derivatives. So there's a lot of value there. There's quadrillion amount of value. The second that much money can 1, 2, 5, 10% of all that ends up on chain, and they actually have regulatory clearance, and they have the ability to move that shit on chain seamlessly without risking any deposit money, any of their current function and operations. By the time that happens, I easily seeing Bitcoin being $1 million, because if I manage 2 trillion in a pension, why wouldn't I want 5% in Bitcoin? Not
Yeah.
crypto, not DeFi, not but Bitcoin, or maybe 2.5%. But literally, that one fund of thousands in the world could take Bitcoin from 34,000 to 48,000 off one fund. That's almost 150 billion. The total market cap of Bitcoin right now is 500. So we're talking a 20 something percent increase off one of 1,000. You know what I mean? So I mean, like, think about it, guys. Like, all they need is regulation and the ability to not harm their customers. The second those two things happen, like an ETF.
Yeah, and I mean, an ETF is coming, which is incredible. You know about the other day? There's this financial regulatory institution. What's it called? DTCC, I think. They've kind of pre-approved the ETF because they've listed it. They have the ticker and symbol and everything, so that's kind of a indicator that is going to be picked up and approved by the SEC. And is that piece of news that the market went up 13%? That was 200 billion in value, just like that, in a day. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks again for coming on. Do you have anything you want to share? Any links or anything you want people to go check out?
You guys can find me anywhere at JT Knows Things. From there, you'll find my link tree, and you can look at, first, research me, make sure I'm legit. All of my websites, all of my review, everything on there, from my professional world where I do Web2 consulting to my fund management services, all of that stuff. Please look into me. You'll be able to do all that. And if you ever want to contact me for anything, any services I provide, or any content, anything else, just reach out to me on any of those platforms. I have it all. I'm watching all of it. So JT Knows Things, anywhere, your favorite platform, I'll be there, and we'll have a conversation.
Awesome, brother. Thanks a lot. Thanks, everybody. Me too, dude. Take care.
Yeah, you too.